The Picot Bind-off is a common decorative bind-off that you'll see in lots of knitting projects. You commonly see it used along the edges of baby items and shawls, but it has all sorts of applications in knitting, and I'd love to show you how to make it. Here I have a swatch where I've done the Picot Bind-off, and for this particular version of the Picot Bind-off, I have an odd number of stitches on my knitting needle, and we are about to bind off on a right side row. So if your particular project does not have an odd number of stitches, there's two things you can do to still work this bind-off that I'm going to show you. You can either on your last wrong side row, either add a stitch or take a stitch away, either with an increase or a decrease to get to an odd number, or when it comes to the final step of this bind off, you'll just be binding off 4 stitches instead of 5. It's really up to you. To work the Picot bind off, we're going to first bind off a stitch. So we're going to knit 1 stitch, knit a 2nd stitch, and then pass the 1st stitch over the 2nd. Just like that. Now we're going to slip that stitch to the left needle and cast on 3 stitches using the cable cast on. To do the cable cast on, we're going to bring our needle in between the stitches to make our stitch. So with the knitted cast on, you're often going into the stitch. We're going to go between the 2 stitches, make a stitch, place it on the left needle. That's 1, and we're going to do that 2 more times. Now that we've done that, we're going to bind off 5 stitches, and we're just using a regular knitwise bind off. And now we're ready to keep repeating that process. So we're going to slip that last stitch from the right needle to the left needle, cast on 3 stitches using the cable cast on, 1, 2, 3, and then bind off knitwise 5 stitches. You can see here I have my first 2 little picots formed, so I'm just going to keep working all the way down the row in the same manner. To finish my Picot bind off, I'm just casting on 3 stitches, just like I have been, and we're going to bind off those final 5 stitches. So that's done. We can just bring the yarn through our final loop, and we've completed our Picot bind off.